welcome back to In the Pit with Steve. We're going to season things a little bit tonight with some Jinjer. So Jinjer's a band, probably like a lot of people, I imagine. I was introduced to them when their song Pisces kind of went viral. It was all over every reaction channel you could possibly think of. It was all over the metal media, essentially. And the band had been around for a while, I believe, before that song came out, but they kind of, finally hit it big in the sort of mainstream, I guess, with that. And I imagine to this day, probably their most well-known song. But I will be completely honest, aside from that song, I have never listened to another Jinjer song, which I'm actually kind of surprised by because I really like that song. It's not like I didn't like it and didn't have a good reason to go and listen to them. I guess it just, for whatever reason, just never really happened. And so I was trying to think of what to do for the rest of this week. And I logged into my YouTube account and I saw that, hey, Jinjer has a new song. And I was like, you know what? It's been a while since I've listened to anything by them because Pisces came out quite a while ago. This is probably a good opportunity and maybe a little bit of a sign from the man down below that I should give them another shot. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. So without any further ado, let's get in the pit with Jinjer. Oh, and I forgot to mention because I'm dumb. The name of the song is Rogue. All right, I think we'll stop it there before we get too far away from it. I'll be honest, this isn't really my thing. I'm not a real big fan of kind of that djenty, dissonant, syncopated, rhythmic sort of thing. I think they do it very well. I've heard a lot of bands try to do this style and it just comes across as like very generic. And it's not like this song is like reinventing the wheel or anything, but it's like really well produced. They have a really solid drummer. I remember he really kind of stood out to me, his choices that he made in Pisces, which, like I said, is the only other song I've ever heard by them. He continues to do that here. So I really should listen to more of them because I'd like to hear more of his playing. He's very good. I love the sound of his snare in this song. Her voice sounds great. I believe her name's Tatiana. She's got a great scream. I don't know if we're going to get any cleans in the song or not. I really do like her clean voice quite a bit. I like that she can pull off both of them equally as well. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, we'll see how the rest of the song goes. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not to say that it's bad or anything. It's just, we all have our preferences, and this just kind of falls out of the stuff I would typically listen to. I always kind of think of bands like this to where it's like, there's nothing wrong with the song. There's nothing bad about the song, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'd probably never go see them live unless they were like opening for a band I wanted to see. But it's one of those things where it's like, I would probably perfectly enjoy myself seeing them live and going through their set. I wouldn't be turned off by it, but I don't think I would go out of my way to listen to them or anything like that. Like, I don't think all of a sudden I'm going to go on this big run of listening to a ton of Jinjer songs or anything like that after this. But we still have a little ways to go in the song. Maybe this takes a hard left turn. You never know. So why don't we get back into it?
Take a lesson, take a lesson. Fully loaded. Shut up. Take a lesson, take a lesson. Fully loaded, fully loaded. There's nothing left in here, so just walk on endless battles. Rogue. We are forcefully blood on his mouth. War drum. Always shadows. Rogue.
All right. So yeah, nothing happened towards the end to really kind of change my thoughts on the song, but I do want to get, there's a shot, there's a, oops, I have to put it on mute. Sorry about that. There's a shot of the drummer's kit from Head On. So yeah, we'll get into his kit in a moment, but yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it sounds like every other song in this genre, you know, that you've heard before. You know, it's not doing anything new. Like I said, it's not reinventing the wheel or anything like that. They really don't take any risks with this song in any way. I think for what they're going for, what their fans probably enjoy, and for what people that are really, really into this kind of music, I think it probably works fairly well. It's a really well-produced track. Singer sounds good, good bass tone, good guitar tone, drummer's on point. Nothing to really say about the video, you know, your kind of standard green screen, you know, performance video. Nothing to really write home about. You know, like I said, it's not going to make me want to go and listen to a ton of Jinjer music or anything like that. But, you know, if they came on at a festival, if I ever was at a festival, or if they opened for a band I wanted to see, I certainly wouldn't kick them out of bed. But, you know, it's just not my, you know, it's just not my thing. But I would like to ask, if you are a big fan of Jinjer, leave a comment with what your favorite Jinjer song is, because I would like to hear more. I'm sure this is just one flavor of what they do. I can't imagine that every single one of their songs sounds the same, because we have evidence of that not being true with, you know, Pisces. Like I said, the only other song I've heard by them. So I would like to know, like, if I was going to listen to them again, or maybe do another video for the channel or something like that, like, where do I go? Where should I start? But real quick, we will get into the drummer's kit. I love this guy's kit. It looks like he has pretty much a very similar setup to the Pisces video, where his cymbals are very low. And it just looks so comfortable. You know, he has such like minimal movement to get from one side of the kit to the other. And I just really enjoy looking at his kit. Like, it's very like aesthetically pleasing. He's got the, oh, you can't see my mouse cursor, but he's got the inverted bells. It looks like he has an inverted bell on the cymbal towards his right hand, and it looks like it's a china on the cymbal towards his left hand, which is a really good way of doing that, especially if you're going to be using it a lot. It's funny because china cymbals, even though they've become more and more used over the past 20 years of heavy music, they were almost always relegated in a drummer setup to like behind, you know, almost behind the floor tom. And I remember that's where I always had mine, because it was just like, well, I need my crashes here, my ride here, my hi-hats here. And I guess this is just kind of what makes sense. But depending on what band I was in or what style of music I was playing, I was like, well, I'm using this thing a lot. It doesn't really make sense for it to be all the way over here. And then you started to see other drummers start doing that and bringing it more towards the forefront. Now, not everybody's like Lars Ulrich and has it in the ride position, but you know, as the cymbal has become more and more common in heavy music, you see drummers make it more and more accessible to their setup. Especially, there's a lot of drummers now that use multiple chinas in their setup, which at one point in time was almost unheard of, unless you had like a Terry Bozzio level drum kit where it's like 9,000 pieces or something like that. But my biggest thing with being a drummer and listening to great drummers is that the word that I always use is color. And color to me is always the variety of cymbals you have at your disposal, because there are so many different kinds of cymbals, sizes, metals, materials, hammerings, all these different things. You have just, the world is your oyster when it comes to cymbals. And I always find it very strange sometimes when drummers just decide that, like, no, I just want meat and potatoes and I don't want, like, I get it. It's a personal choice. Do what works best for you. Do what works best for the style of music you're playing. But for me personally, I love a setup like this where he's got a lot of options. He's got a lot of choices. He can do some really cool stuff. And that's, to me, that's like the fun of playing your instrument, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, even though, you know, it is a music business, you are trying to be a profit seeking entity and make money and sell albums, concert tickets, merchandise, and all this stuff. If you are a musician, you still want to have fun playing your instrument. You want to have a good time. So if guitar players get to have 9 million effects pedals, then we as drummers should be able to have 9 million cymbals to choose from at any given time. So that'll about do it for me for this portion, and we'll be back in just a second to wrap things up. I genuinely don't really have much more to offer. I don't have any negatives about the song. Like I said, it's not a bad song by any stretch. It's just not my particular brand of music that I feel like listening to at this point. Ask me 5 years ago, maybe I would have been really into this. Ask me 5 years from now, maybe I'll be really into this. But as it is right now, in September of 2024, not necessarily what I'm looking for. But I imagine if you are into this style of music, this is probably pretty solid because it's a well-produced track, good vocalist, good instrumentation. You know, what more could you really ask for? I think they do some interesting musicality stuff towards the end of the song. Maybe a solo would have been nice to have in there, but hey, you know, kind of take it or leave it at that point. So, you know, I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you're a big Jinjer fan, because this is a new song, is this what you were hoping for? Is this what you were expecting? Is this kind of what you're into right now? Is this, you know, making you happy about this is what the band is choosing to do? So let me know. But for now, that's going to do it for me. And thanks once again for getting in the pit.